Hey everybody, Rob from Premier Fitness and Massage here. Wanted to share a quick little tip. Something that I saw at the gym today was one of the fellow members there doing some tricep kickbacks. Not sure if they were new, not sure if they were new to lifting, not sure if we all get into our movements and sometimes we're doing something that's not necessary that we just didn't think about. So I wanted to get kind of everybody thinking about there's this biomechanical principle about gravitational and force vectors and things where, big words, where it's basically, depending on as we're moving through an arc of motion, we're using different percentages of the actual weight that we're moving. Okay, so if you've got a 25-pound dumbbell in one hand, as you're moving through a bicep curl, for example, you're not lifting 25 pounds, 25 pounds, 25 pounds, 25 pounds, okay? We're lifting, there's 25 pounds when we're at a 90-degree angle with gravity, okay? But then as you lower it, the actual amount you're lifting reduces, okay? So at a 45-degree angle, we're only lifting about 71% of 25 pounds, okay? 30 degrees, we're at 50%, okay? 15 degrees, we're 26%. Then once you hit that dead zero, okay, you're not doing anything, okay? You're not lifting any weight, pretty much, okay? It's a dead hang vertically. So for him to be stressing full range of motion on a tricep kickback, okay, so doing this, if we were to take this whole chart, kind of flip it, okay, so here's our dead hang, here's our 0, and there's our 90 roughly, okay? So from here, we're at 0 pounds, okay, and then we're slowly getting up to whatever weight we're using, okay? But to go from 0 to go into negatives, we're really not doing anything for our tricep, okay? If anything, we've now started the same curve going this other direction, but it's for bicep flexion or elbow flexion instead of elbow extension. So if anything, working through this range of motion, we're starting to hit those elbow flexors, so biceps, brachialis, brachioradialis. Okay, we're actually working the opposite muscle group to actually pull it up to here, okay, if we want to say anything at all about that range of motion. So really, he's wasting their time to go from 0 into negatives because we're not doing anything. We're not having any resistance on our tricep. So we're not having to use our tricep a whole lot to go from here to 0, wherever 0 is, okay, during this range of motion. Okay, we're not getting a lot of tension on the muscle. If anything, gravity's kind of pulling that dumbbell down to here. So we're not doing anything. We've really lost tension on our tricep at that point. So there's no point to really do a full range of motion because we're now moving more horizontally during this part than anything. So we're not really getting a good vertical lift, good vertical tension where we're actually using gravity with that dumbbell. So that's another thing. I mean, to make a basic version of this video, dumbbells and barbells only work when you're moving them up and down, okay, on the mover, the prime mover that we're doing. So to kind of step back a little bit, to do external rotations with dumbbells, for example, you're working horizontally with something that's pulling vertically. So really, if anything, we're really stressing those elbow flexors to keep the dumbbell from falling, okay? So to move internal, external rotation with dumbbells while you're standing up like this, you're fighting inertia a little bit to start a new path, a new direction, but beyond that, there's no resistance on your internal, external rotators to do this. So if you're wanting to work your external rotators, you need to turn this way so you're actually working vertically with that dumbbell. So you need to lay on your side and then do them. So that's kind of the same principle, is that when you're moving this way, we're really working a very minimal amount of actual weight. So for you to hold 60 pounds and brag about doing a 60-pound external rotation with dumbbells, you're probably really only using a very minor percentage of that actual 60% to do that motion, if any. Okay, if any, because we're working horizontally. So that's not something to stress about. So if you're going this way, then yeah, you're getting a little bit of a vertical lift. So yeah, you're getting a little tiny percentage. But if you're moving perfectly vertical, it's not happening. Okay, so this same principle here, we can apply this with, this is where cables come into play, because cables allow us to not just work vertically. Okay, we can now take that cable, instead of pulling it from the ground, and we can twist it so we can pull out laterally. So we can change our angle to kind of play with this a little, so for certain exercises. So if we want to talk about a lateral raise, okay, a lateral delt raise. If you're using dumbbells and you're coming all the way together, again, there's this range of motion here that's kind of dead. Okay, there's not much point to really work through here. So then it's, you know, even if we were to say 15 degrees out, let's finally get around a quarter of our weight actually, so we can really stop somewhere in there and then come up. Okay, so then there, 90 degrees, there's our full 100%. Okay, so doing a dumbbell standing, sitting raise, we're stressing our muscle the most at this angle. Okay, so now either with cables or by playing around with leaning on something to hold yourself at a different angle, that's a way that we can now take this 100% and maybe move it so that 100% is more like right here. Okay, so if we get that cable set down low and we grab it with a one-arm grip, okay, a handle, then you can kind of start to pull through this range of motion and actually get some resistance to it. So if I'm set down on the ground, standing here, I can create a 90-degree angle down here. Okay, so then I can pull through and then start to kind of lose my, same idea here, I can start to lose my percents as I come up. So it's lighter up here than it was down here, essentially. So I can really stress this lower angle and still move through the range of motion, but really have the highest amount of strength required down here, okay, because of the angle that I've set my cable. So if I can turn this a little, then I can kind of play with that angle. So I'm 90 degrees with the cable, my resistance, okay, just like with gravity. Gravity is our main resistance provider, so being 90 degrees with gravity, that is where I'm at 100%. So start playing with those cables. Don't just be stuck with dumbbells, because if you're always doing dumbbell lateral raises, for example, you're getting really strong through this end range here, but you might be pretty weak down through here with your delts. So if you get that cable machine and you stress it down where it requires that 100% to be down here instead of up here, then we can kind of balance out those muscle groups, balance out that muscle so that we get a good strength curve throughout the whole muscle group. So you can look at the strength curve of a muscle and you can start to kind of play with that. And really look at it as, okay, well, I'm going to strengthen my deltoids through this lower angle, and I can stress my deltoids through this upper angle. That works. So play with that a little bit. So when you're at the gym next, and you're moving dumbbells, you're moving barbells, you're moving cables, whatever it is, take a quick second to figure out, how's my 90-degree angle here? So if I look at my arm and the cable, my arm and gravity, where's that 90 degrees at? And am I going horizontal anywhere with this movement? Okay. So again, think that tricep kickback where through here is kind of worthless. So there's not really any reason to do that. Look through it, through some of your exercises, and see if you're wasting any time, any energy, sort of, by moving a dumbbell horizontally or a barbell horizontally. Okay. Again, there's benefits to that. It's just whatever your prime mover is, that you're not going to be stressing it that way. So think about that, and am I being effective with a muscle group that's providing the movement, or am I going into these negative regions where I'm not really using my muscle anymore, I'm using the antagonist group or the opposite muscle group? Or am I really stressing this lower range where I'm not really using a beneficial amount of weight? We really want to try and hit these higher ranges and really stress it that way. So can I use dumbbells and do lateral raises standing, and then go over, get the cable, use it, and stress the lower range of motion? So can I separate this lift out in maybe 2 different versions so I can stress the full range of motion with a good amount of resistance? Okay. If you have any questions about that, please let us know. You can drop us a comment below. You can find us at www.premierfitnessmassage.com. We're on our Facebook page. If you just search for Premier FM or Premier Fitness and Massage, you can find us that way. Thanks.